going to get used to the walk and ignore. because the questions are going to come fast and furious. So get used to learning how to walk and ignore those questions being thrown at you.
I mean, the American people, you're looking at this and you think this is normal and okay to single out a law firm that happened to represent a political opponent of Donald Trump and the lawyers who were involved in cases and litigations against him. I think every law firm in this town and around the country should stand together and say, go ahead, try it. Try it. I mean, are you serious?
I don't take responsibility at all. These 6 words from Trump tell you everything you need to know about his presidency, according to Michael Steele's brutal takedown that's got Trump throwing a full-blown tantrum. In this video, we're breaking down the moment Steele exposed Trump's leadership style on live TV, comparing his foreign policy approach to running a casino and his pandemic response to a PR disaster rather than a health crisis.
How dumb is that? And think about it in terms of if any other business in this country operated that way, where they would tell you, I'm sorry, we're not going to serve you, who's sitting behind a very big desk and wielding a lot of power. But at the end of the day, he's a scared little boy who feels that this is the only way he can get payback. I mean, this is just not normal. This is the musings and actions of a petty, afraid little man.
Trump's meltdown afterward? Let's just say his Twitter fingers are working overtime. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Ever wonder what happens when a former GOP chairman stops holding back and tells the truth about Trump? Michael Steele just showed us, and it wasn't pretty. The man who once led the Republican Party went on live TV and basically treated Trump's entire presidency like a piñata, whacking away until all the ugly truth came spilling out.
I'm hoping that we all stand together and go ahead, make our day. You know, you want to tie this up in litigation. Let's get this in front of the Supreme Court and let's hear what those lawyers have to say. The goods you ordered because you ordered from a competitor, or you also contribute money to an organization we don't like, is to go after the law firms who just did what they're supposed to do, what they were hired to do. And so I'm hoping the legal community, as an active member of the legal community.
Steele didn't mince words when he said Trump treats foreign policy like running a casino. Ouch, that's not exactly a compliment coming from a guy who knows a thing or two about politics. According to Steele, Trump's approach to international relations boils down to a kindergarten-level understanding of they like me or they don't. Not exactly the sophisticated diplomatic strategy America needs when dealing with, the entire rest of the world. What makes this takedown so juicy isn't just the words themselves, it's who's saying them. This isn't some random Democrat or political enemy. This is Michael freaking Steele, former Republican National Committee chairman. That's like having your own football coach tell the world you throw like my grandma after her hip surgery.
And the string of law firms that are associated with the individuals that you just identified should be the first ones out of the gate. What is the point of the oath that we swore as lawyers, right? Who have sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution and the rule of law and to protect those who have a matter to bring before the courts of this country. And so I'm hoping they stand up. I'm hoping this is just a momentary pause as they're sitting there writing the narrative that they're going to put out there publicly.
The verbal beatdown got even more brutal when Steele brought up Trump's COVID response. Remember that gem of presidential leadership? I don't take responsibility at all. Steele pointed to that quote as Exhibit A in the case against Trump's fitness for office. He said Trump handled the pandemic with all the grace of a squirrel on Red Bull trying to cross a busy freeway. I don't know about you, but that mental image is both hilarious and terrifyingly accurate. But wait, there's more. Steele didn't stop at foreign policy blunders and pandemic failures. He went after Trump's cabinet selection process, calling it basically a joke rather than a functional government body. According to Steele, Trump's only hiring criteria was finding yes men who wouldn't challenge his big boy ideas, creating a dangerous echo chamber where actual expertise went to die. Even Trump's supposed strong suit, the economy, got the Steele sledgehammer treatment. He called out Trump's economic policies as being built on repeating lies rather than actual understanding, comparing Trump's financial acumen to a toddler with a monopoly board. That's not exactly a ringing endorsement from a fellow Republican.
This one man, I don't care if he is the president of the United States, because everything I was taught as a young lawyer was no one is above the law. Everything I was taught as a sworn officer of the court was nobody's above the law. We're here to defend those who otherwise would be persecuted by the very people like Donald Trump. That's what we're called to do. And we don't decide whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing for us financially, right? And so whether you're in a corporate setting or a litigation setting, no matter what you do in the law, we're all part of the same fraternity and sorority of lawyers.
When Steele's brutal takedown hit the internet, Trump reacted exactly like a 5-year-old denied his favorite toy. The man who once occupied the Oval Office couldn't help himself, predictably throwing the mother of all tantrums on social media that perfectly validated every single criticism Steele had just finished making. Talk about cell phones. Instead of addressing any substantive points about his leadership failures, Trump immediately resorted to his greatest hits collection: personal attacks, fantasy facts, and Olympic-level subject changing. It's like watching someone get accused of being unstable and then responding by acting completely unhinged. You almost want to say, "Thanks for proving the point, buddy." The social media meltdown featured Trump's signature all-caps rage typing, where he branded Steele a failed Republican, because apparently when you can't refute the message, just attack the messenger. Trump then proceeded to make wildly exaggerated claims about his supposedly perfect presidency that existed only in the fantasy world inside his head. Nothing says, "I'm stable and competent," like screaming in text form about how amazing you are. Every post Trump fired off actually reinforced Steele's assessment about his inability to handle criticism. Rather than engage with any substantive arguments, Trump went straight to his comfort blanket, labeling everything fake news. It's his version of sticking fingers in his ears and yelling, "La la la, I can't hear you," but presidential style. The social media tantrum escalated when Trump started inventing completely new achievements of his administration. This creative fiction writing exercise perfectly demonstrated what Steele had criticized as Trump's habit of simply making up facts whenever reality becomes inconvenient. Who needs truth when you can just create your own version of events? Perhaps most revealing was Trump's bizarre claim that he saved millions of lives during the COVID pandemic. This fantasy statement directly contradicted reality and highlighted his continued sensitivity about his pandemic response. Instead of acknowledging any shortcomings, Trump doubled down on rewriting history, proving he still sees a global health crisis that killed hundreds of thousands of Americans as nothing more than a PR problem for his image. What we just saw wasn't your typical political back and forth. When Michael Steele dropped that truth bomb, it carried extra weight coming from inside Trump's own party. That validation from a Republican insider confirmed what many Americans had already suspected. This wasn't partisan mudslinging, but legitimate concern from someone who once worked alongside him. The beauty of Trump's reaction, it perfectly demonstrated exactly what Steele was warning us about. Instead of addressing the substance, Trump's impulsive, defensive meltdown essentially said, "Hey everyone, look how right Michael Steele is about me." As the next election approaches, Steele's criticisms serve as a stark reminder that character flaws don't just disappear, they simply wait for the next opportunity to reveal themselves.